presentations where you were not able to ask the questions because of time limits, this is your opportunity to ask the questions. However, I would like to kick off the panel with a specific question that in my head after listening to all of the questions. But before that, I would like to thank all the authors once again for their presentations. So let's thank the authors once again. I personally enjoyed the whole session. I'm not personally working in any specific authentication techniques, but it seems that there are so many different ways to authenticate so many different things. So one of the things I have noticed in this session is that we are moving into a hugely diversified wearable systems. So in the very beginning, we had just smartphone. Then we have smartwatch. Now I can see that you are working on earables, hearables, and then you have smart glasses today, and then someone with smart chair. So it looks like we will be interacting with more and more devices, either on our body directly or closely connected to our body through chairs, smart tables, and things like that. And all of these devices need some kind of authentication. So today what we have seen is a diverse range of ways to authenticate, and they are all different. Like some were showing how the hand gesture can be used to authenticate the smartphone. Some were showing how the leakage can be used to authenticate the earables. So my question to all of you is, in the future, when the number of devices increases and diversifies, do you think we can come with a more global authentication solution for the user, which will authenticate all of the devices that the user will be using, instead of trying to remember how do I authenticate that device, this device, and you know, and all sorts of devices. So this is my question. And anyone, do you have a microphone? You can
I will
share.
take the first
you can start.
answer. Yeah. Well, in my opinions, I think when we are having more and more wearable devices which will form a body network, right? And I think it's quite similar to previous traditional network systems that we have computers connected in the cloud. And I think regarding to wearable devices, we have many different characteristics, and there will be accelerometers and also cameras and so much modalities in the devices. And I would like to think that there will be a unified solutions that combine all those modalities together to make a multi-modal authentication schemes that can guarantee a much more security systems, authentication systems for BodyNet. Yeah, that's my opinion.
I can go next. I also agree. So like in my paper, for instance, we were trying to like look at a behavior that was, say, like independent of like certain like specific things, such as like the protocol itself or like the device type, by utilizing something that's more common across all the devices. So like you're saying, like maybe something like the different sensors or like different things that have some commonality, and trying to be able to analyze that. But definitely it is an interesting challenge for sure, as the number of devices, you know, even the technology that we're using changes. We just have to be adaptable to looking at different modalities and things that we can do to provide a more generalizable thing. But it's definitely an interesting question.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So my personal take on that question would be, you'd ideally have one primary device that you authenticate to, that becomes your sort of root of trust, and you can use that device to automatically authenticate to other devices in a seamless manner. I think that would be the sort of the most ideal world that, you know, for efficiently authenticating to lots of devices.
And if that primary device is not with me, what do I do?
You have to have a fallback method, I think. Passwords. So I don't think we'll ever get away with passwords.
Yeah.
You have to have a fallback method at some point.
Okay. Anyone else wants to share their thoughts? All right. Thank you very much. I think we can have questions from the audience. Please go ahead. You can queue up. The best way to do is just queue so we can have one by one.
Hi everyone. Thank you for your great presentations. I really enjoyed this session. So I have a little meta question here. So all of you have come up with lots of different modalities, and if you go to Oakland and security, there are plenty of different sort of techniques to authenticate. What do you think is going to take, or what is needed to take one of your schemes and then supplant or change Face ID or Touch ID, which, you know, somehow passcodes and all of these have been notoriously resilient in terms of the mode of authentication, right? Like, is it, especially when they claim 1 in 50,000 or 1 in a million false acceptance rates, right? So what's the biggest challenge you think that, you know, that it needs to be addressed for it to be able to replace some of these, you know, the most common forms of authentication right now?
I think, as you said, the accuracy requirements are very, very strict and constrained for things like biometric authentication, for explicit authentication. So like businesses usually expect like 0.00001% equal error rate, whereas in academic papers we talk about 1% equal rate being like really good, right, in papers. So I think accuracy is still the biggest challenge for explicit authentication.
So do you think that should be done in research, or do you think that is like?
I think it depends where you work in. If you work in companies, you have to. Otherwise, like your solution will never be commercialized.
Yeah.
You write papers, publish it, but that will be it.
Yeah.
So
Anyone
that's
else wants to contribute? Yes, here.
Well, as what just mentioned, I think the secure accuracy is the first thing, but it depends on what kind of scenarios you are going to deploy your systems. Like if you are going to make a payment, I think the accuracy you have to do like the fingerprints at 99%, 99.999%. But for home scenarios, like you are sharing a device with your family members, or you are doing a television ratings, I think that's okay to accept systems that has an equal error rate that is not that good enough, maybe like 2%, and I think that will be a good scenario to use a different kind of authentication methods. And as you know, we have many smartwatches devices that cannot install the fingerprint sensors, and as the same, we have many constriction on using different kind of modalities, but somehow some of the modality provide an alternate solutions, and it will have suitable scenarios for that. Yeah.
Anyone else? No? Okay. We can switch to another question. We have a long...
Yeah, hi. I have a quick question about the validation things that are adopted to gauge the performance of the biometric system. So now as most of the authentication systems are like moving towards adopting devices in a connected world, IoT and these kind of things. So does it make sense in the future to also evaluate the consequences of, say, different like attacks, side channel attacks or cyber security attacks to validate if the systems are robust to these things, and what could be the challenges in doing so? Thank you.
Maybe I will give the opportunities to others.
I can go ahead and try to address that question. If I'm understanding correctly, I think you're discussing like, do we need to test like basically the robustness of our system to like say like adversarial attacks and things like that? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really important question because I think in addition to being able to like authenticate and identify like something that's in the set, we also need to be able to like prevent things out of the set from getting into our system. So definitely, I don't know what's there's multiple ways we could go about this, but at least like from my perspective, you definitely need to basically see like thinking like an adversary and see like what is like the what we're trying to authenticate. Is it like say like spoofable, or is it like recreatable, or are we say like thinking something that's like say like even more like hard to say like mimic? So these are definitely questions that we need to ponder as we think about the different modalities that we are leveraging, because we need to make sure that say like adversaries can't like hijack our systems.
To contribute? Otherwise, we'll take one more question, and then we'll try to wrap up the panel session so that you can go and have the posters session interactions. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. My name is Hao Zhe. I'm from Carnegie Mellon University. So my question is, when I see the presentation and a lot of the research work, in authentication is that carried by the research lab, we do not have the capability to recruit a lot of users, say 10,000 users. Mostly we are recruiting only like under 100 users. So my question is, as a researcher, how do we get an insights into estimating how promising this authentication method is going to be as we scale to more users during our research? And if you think there are additional steps that we need to carry from research or the industrial efforts, what are these steps that we need to take to push these forward? Thank you.
So obviously in academic settings, I think you'll have restrictions on the number of participants you can recruit because you have limited expenses that you can spend, right? Funds. So I think the most important thing is for you to consider is to try to explain the fundamentals as sort of the features that you're exploring. You need to be able to explain the fundamentals and convince other people that these features do provide uniqueness, right? Without having to like recruit thousands of, 10,000s of participants. I think if you can actually convince others that the features you're exploring have sufficient uniqueness in them to identify individuals, I think that's where you should start. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, here we have.
Yeah, I think about the users numbers, I think it's all about the overhead and the risk management. And at the beginning of the research, you must conduct a preliminary study on a small scale of users, and then you get a promising result, then you enlarge your users involving from 5 members to 50 members. And I think if you get a much more promising results, like if you get 99% accuracies for 50 persons, and I think you must be interested in enlarging the user group. And also, I think there will be other people that would like to interested in it and investigate you to give you more monies or more times to get recruitment for a larger scale of users. And then you also passionate about putting our systems into practical use and find more users to do it. Yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Okay, so we just have 2 minutes left. So I think this is a good time to wrap up the panel so we can have the 2 minutes to at least have some interactions with the poster. So let's thank all the authors once again. And I would like to formally conclude this session, but at the end of this corridor, we have a few posters. I can see at least 4 or 5 posters, so feel free to look at the posters, and the authors may be there for interactions. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your lunchtime.